Hello, everybody. This is Paula with Awake Mind and Body, and I'm with my friend Garrett Dawn from Command C.
Hey
Today,
everybody.
we decided to make this video because somehow we are concerned that out there on the media, there seems to be a dominant voice, a dominant version about what anxiety is, how you can approach it, how can you deal with it, and how can you see yourself in relation to that anxiety that you are experiencing. And because we know that there's other options, there's alternative views on this topic, we decided that we want to talk a little bit today from our experience and perspectives, so you get a wider view on what you can do and maybe even tell others about anxiety.
Yeah, it's totally crazy. It's a funny way to say it, but it's totally crazy how out of hand people's definition of anxiety has gotten. It's become like it's a medical disease, and people use the phrase chemical imbalance. But none of those people had their brains actually studied, to see if the chemicals were so-called out of balance. It's just like a diagnosis that's usually given within 15 minutes or less of conversation. Oh, you have anxiety. And it's almost like a trendy thing to have it now. I think even South Park had an episode where Cartman gets anxiety, and he does it on purpose to be able to stay home or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just ridiculous. And people have not tried anything to overcome it or even to make use of it. I don't think you need to overcome it. I think you can actually, it can be a positive force in people's life. The thing they're calling anxiety, but we almost need a different word for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the understanding is there is a disease called anxiety. So if you start feeling suddenly sweat and you start feeling agitated and you start feeling a number of symptoms, which can vary actually, and they are very loose in a way, then you are having this disease or this problem that is anxiety. But in reality, what is that telling? I mean, that is not giving any information about why you're getting it or what's happening in reality. And that is the part that people are missing, is that anxiety is actually part of life. I mean, it's a functioning. Anyway, no, I need to stop this shit.
Oh, no.
Hello, everybody. I'm Paula with Awake Mind and Body, and I'm today with my friend Garrett Dawn from Command C. Today, we decided we want to make this video to give people an alternative view on anxiety. We have seen lately, especially, that there's documentaries, blogs, all kinds of information available on anxiety. However, most of that information is based on one single view, which is pretty scientific, medical view. For some people may work, but we know through our experience working with people, coaching people in different processes, that not everybody wants to go that route. Not everybody wants to take medicine to treat anxiety or to get to understand what it's about. Some people actually want to understand rather than just feel better. So for those people that are looking for an understanding of what's going on when you feel anxious, how can you do something about it, we hope that this conversation is helpful.
Yeah, there's some things I noticed about anxiety that most people have never thought about, as most people I've never talked to have thought about it. And that, first of all, a lot of people don't really notice that the world has kind of become like an insane asylum, like where everyone has some kind of mental issue or disease going on. Whereas we live in the time where it's the easiest time that humans have ever lived compared to any time in the past, even like less war and less chance of your house being like burned down by a barbarian horde or something. You can leave your house for months and nothing bad will probably happen in most cases. But now it's the time when most people are the most upset emotionally and mentally. So, but instead of thinking of it as a disease, I think it's better to give like a context And the number one thing I think that contributes to it is that people live a sedentary lifestyle. They're sitting around and not moving most of the time. So they're not used to feeling alive at all. So then when they feel more aliveness in their body, they are trained to call that anxiety and to think of it in a bad way. It's because they are not used to moving around. So they're afraid to feel and conditioned by school and lazy parents sitting all day. And they believe information over their direct experience. So then they're basically living in denial of being alive.
And even if they are active, because I've seen people that have a job, that is demanding or whatever, but even then they experience anxiety. So I think what you were saying at the beginning of this idea of this is the point where humanity is at its best in terms of opportunities for everybody, not that there exist, but they are available. The possibility of having a quality of life, of health that is pretty good, actually. But at the same time is the time where there's all these diseases coming up every week, pretty much, kind of like a new type of flavor or something like that. And is this thing of is comfort, and the more comfort people acquire, the more stability financially or whatever it is, the more they get away from their nature, from what their basic kind of stuff and elements are, to the extent that anxiety in a way is this energy. It's nothing that you got a disease necessarily, that you got something wrong working with you. Is that it's energy that is available, and because of your lifestyle or because the way that you are doing your life is not being used and is not being managed, not channeled into any direction, starts creating some discomfort and start creating certain stuff. But it's actually energy, is your energy, is not a disease. And then if we start seeing then life from a perspective that is, as you were saying, more alive, if we start becoming more engaged with our bodies, with others, with the environment, with the things that we do, with the food that we eat, the connections, establishing connections between different parts, then we start getting a better understanding of who we are, how these bodies work, how can we nurture them, how can we help them to help us, doing our day-to-day life. But it's that this connection and this idea that the more I like tending towards comfort, towards pleasure, and that we are now, if I feel disgust, that's bad. I don't want to feel disgust. I only want to be amazed. I only want to be happy. I only want to buy, we tend more and more towards the cool things of life, the good things, and rejecting more and more the parts that are not necessarily that enjoyable, the parts that are not necessarily that pretty, the parts that makes us feel strange, make us feel out of place. All those, we're putting them more and more to the side. So, like in my experience, when people flotation tanks, they go and float for the first time and they freak out. They get out of the tank. Oh my God, there was a sound or something like that. And then it's like, okay, we check. And it's like, oh, you were blinking or you were hearing to your heartbeat. They are so unused and never have heard their own beating or their own blinking that totally freaked them out because they were not expecting that. So until what point are we have kind of really separated from this, which is our vehicle to experience life, and that is creating all these ideas of diseases or things that we need to eradicate somehow and that we don't want, that we don't even know what they are, and we are just wanting to take away.
Well, one thing about anxiety and learning to feel alive again is about facing the truth of existence. And one of the things also, we get trained to think that everything is supposed to go the way we expect it to go, that's supposed to go our way all the time. And if it doesn't, then we think there's something wrong.
Mhm.
And this makes people afraid of surprises and unable to like surf through the actual changes that happen in real life. So they live in their mind and words and expectations instead of in the sensory reality that's all around. And if they lived in the sensory reality, then they would see that anxiety is more like unused life force. It's potential that you're not using. And what that means is that the fear associated with anxiety isn't actually about the feelings, but that's where a lot of the common popular approach
Mhm.
and experts go wrong, is they think that the anxiety itself is fear, but the fear is actually not the feeling itself. It's the unconscious acknowledgement of the truth that your life is actually ticking away and that you're sitting there wasting it, that you're not enjoying it. So when the anxiety comes up, usually when it's chronic, it's because people are like in situations or doing things with their life that they don't want to be doing, and they're not acknowledging the fact that the life is wasting away, and this life force is like ready to be used to accomplish something that they would actually enjoy and do well at.
It's like tension. I mean, it's a whole cycle that it starts, that is created in a way, you know. You have all these physical tensions because the awareness that you put in your body is minimal, really, in your day-to-day life. So you start holding all these tensions in different parts. And those tensions relate also with the possibility of receiving oxygen in the brain, for example, of being able to think clear and to be able to feel grounded. Our food habits most of the times are completely out of balance, the sleeping patterns as well. So we are kind of um, lacking in many different areas of our lives because of lack of attention and care. And that starts accumulating. So we go to life every day with all this heavy weight that we already have of tension, lack of nutrition, lack of sleep, and we are confronted to life, which is harsh in many ways. You know, we don't really know, and that's more and more what we are living every day: uncertainty, not really control of anything. You can think and hope for something, but that doesn't really do anything. The only thing and real power that one has, seems more and more, is what one does with this and how one reacts and approach the world just as it is. The idea of trying to change the world, make it a different thing, that's also part of what is creating that anxiety. Is the, again, wanting the world to go the way that I want, the way that they sold me that is supposed to be, the way that I should be, the way that I'm supposed to look, all this stuff. You go to life with facing every day, constantly being bombarded by ads, by others, friends, whatever context, that are telling you all these messages. And besides, you have already all this layer of chronic tension and lack, again, of all this stuff that are fundamental for a good functioning of your brain, of your self, emotions. Everything can be softer just if we start touching on those. But then you go to life with all this stuff, and then everything is overwhelming. Everything is just over the top. We are already saturated in a way when we go every morning to the world, and being confronted with so many messages, contradictory messages, and all kinds of things. That's what create that holds on those feelings. And the more foreign we are to this, the more disconnected we are, because we're thinking that we should be something else, doing something else, and always aiming out of ourselves. So that is what really creates all this situation that gets out of control, and that it gets people feeling hopeless, feeling that they cannot do anything, and then the only option is go and take a pill. But what happens? Those pills have tons of things, consequences, though, side effects, you know, that you don't necessarily want to get on into all of that.
Yeah.
So the other route is, okay, start working with this, start making sure that this part is taken care, that you start with the basics. And once your body is nourished, once you are resting well, once you are learning strategies to deal with stress, deal with things, not trying to avoid them, not trying to escape from them, but to actually let them come through you, and not affect you in a limiting way, but actually nourish you as an experience that you are growing from, and that you evolve as human because you are able to take what life is bringing to you and use it, process it in ways that help you to grow, to uplift yourself and uplift the others around you, not to put you down. But with this, some of the approaches that we're seeing now is they don't leave much to the person once they have this anxiety problem. Is just take those pills for the rest of your life and that's it.
Yeah.
There's way more that one can do to actually recognize first that is nothing wrong on it, but that it actually means you're alive and you're full of energy and potential to do anything that you want. And it's just a matter of making the decision of starting a journey of getting to know yourself, getting to know what this is communicating to you every day. And as you establish that connection and that relation with your own self to begin with, then it will be easier to maybe establish a connection with someone else, with nature, with other people, with your friends, that are like real, authentic connections. And then the anxiety, the fears, and all this mental trash that we have, it starts to vanish more and more as you start taking care of these.
Mm-hmm.
That is our option in a way, and the option of many people that we have worked with who started with a feeling, oh yeah, I have this sensation, and every time I go to public, I'm feeling really bad, and I cannot breathe, and I'm having this, and it's horrible, and it's limiting, I need to do something. But they started a journey, and they were open and started doing little by little things that not only help them to recognize that energy as theirs, but also open their lives completely to a new way of approaching themselves, relations, challenges, problems. We are definitely not in control of what happens in our lives, but we can choose how do we respond to them. And it's in our hands, in a way, with some effort and work, but it's super worth it to train and make this body and this person someone that can transcend limitations and someone who grows from limitations, rather than a victim that is hopeless.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, I mean, I think of three simple ways, well, maybe not that simple, but three ways that people can do that, can overcome anxiety, transcend it forever, which is to come home to the body. I'm not going to get into all the how you do that, but that's what to do, is come home to the body, end the fake suffering in the mind, and that's totally possible. And then also to embrace your life as an adventure. If you really work on those three things consistently, then you can't go wrong. It's totally amazing what happens then.
And talking to others, creating a support, reaching out for support. Not necessarily if you don't want to go and talk about people about what your feelings and stuff, but just spend time with others, doing activities that actually feel good, playing games, dancing, creating, art, music. All these type of things are excellent resources for us to perceive ourselves in a different way, to take a break from society in a way, and all these ideas and programs that are constantly being pushed at ourselves, in social media and all this stuff. So when you just take a break out of that and connect with real people, with real situations that are happening, and through that, I'm not mean that doing it online may not work. If that's the way, Zoom, we have all these technologies, but do something that is meaningful to you. And just by start doing something that you actually enjoy every day, that is meaningful to you for 5 minutes even, that's a great place to start. If that's the only thing you can do for now. And then later, when you feel prepared, know that there is other people that pass through that situation that you are in, And we're able to find an alternative way that is way more integral, that is more gentle and humane way of approaching this. And well, that's pretty much what we wanted to bring up today to you guys. And I hope that is of any use for some of you. Awesome to talk with you, Garrett.
Yeah, you as well. Yeah, I think people get a lot from thinking about these things in a new way.
And if you're interested in knowing more what we do, you know, and the options that we offer to work with people, you can check on the links below of Garrett with Command C and myself with Awake Mind and Body. See you in another opportunity. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.